do anything for roughly 3 hours and 30 minutes.
Our top story tonight, the family of a Cottage Grove man who died after suffering a massive stroke is blaming police and jail staffers. Eagan police arrested him after they saw him driving into oncoming traffic.
Now his family's attorney says this stroke made him drive erratically. Our Mike Manzoni spoke with that attorney, and Mike, the family is now suing police and the county in federal court, right?
And to Kingsley, they want them to pay for Kingsley Bimpong's death. The 50-year-old died last November, just days after that traffic stop landed him in the Dakota County Jail. It all started when they pulled him over on his way home from work. That's him there. Police arrested Bimpong on suspicion of driving while intoxicated. They eventually took him to the police station and later the Dakota County Jail. And that is where surveillance images shown here show him wandering around his cell before eventually collapsing. The images also show various corrections officers looking into his cell after he fell to the floor. At that point, jail staffers carried him out of his cell and rushed him to the hospital, where he died days later. His family's attorney says there is evidence the police suspected a stroke even before they arrested him.
One of the officers turns off his body-worn camera. The other officer did not. And the officer turned off his camera, says, "Dude, before you got here, or got there, I thought he was having a stroke." And the last part of stroke is cut off because the officer who didn't get the memo to shut his camera off mutes immediately.
And an attorney for the city of Eagan sent us a statement earlier tonight saying in part, quote, "While Mr. Bimpong's death is tragic, he was not exhibiting an objectively serious medical condition that was obvious to laypersons." Both Dakota County and the Dakota County Sheriff's Office declined to comment, citing the lawsuit. In the newsroom tonight, Mike Manzoni, Fox 9.
What's up, YouTube? This is James coming back at you with another informative video. I hope you guys are doing well out there on this beautiful warm Tuesday. I'm doing well myself. Well, this is just another disgraceful mark on the police forces across America, okay? Because at some point or time, we know that, some precincts or whatever has engaged in this kind of reprobate behavior or what have you when, accosting people in the community, black people especially. You see what I'm saying? I mean, they do things to other races too, but it seems like stuff like this is just more, it takes more, it's more often and it's more publicized as well as it should be, okay? We had some reprobate, disgraceful ass police officers, one that actually knew that this man was having a stroke, according to the news clip there we just watched, But what that news clip didn't tell us is that this Minnesota cops jailed a black man having a stroke and let him die in his own urine. Okay? In his own urine. See, that's what that particular news clip failed to inform the public. Why would they do that? You see what I'm saying? Why would they, if their intentions was to just, basically take this man into custody under the suspicion of him being intoxicated, well, why would you hide? Why would you even let him, basically die in his own urine? Just put it like that, okay? Now, to get into this article right here, and this is the man right here, and in the situation, a 50-year-old black man from Ghana had been working as a U.S. postal employee in Minnesota, but he died a preventable death as police mistook his stroke for intoxication and ignored him for hours. Now his family is suing. Kingsley 5 Bimpong's ordeal began on November 16, 2024, when he left work early after saying that he had a headache and blurred vision. While driving home, he veered into oncoming traffic and into a median. Clear signs something was wrong. But instead of recognizing a medical crisis, officers assumed he was driving under the influence. For more than 5 hours, according to a lawsuit filed on October 9, 2025, none of the officers was able to identify that Bimpong had suffered a stroke. And that's a lie, because you heard what the reporter just said. The lady basically that was, I guess she was a reporter or whatever, attorney. Yeah, that's what she was. Basically, heard one of the officers say that one of the officers said he believed the man was suffering a stroke. Okay? Now to continue here, instead, officers at the scene, Joseph Monsing, Martin Jensen, and Liam O'Shea of Minnesota's Eagan Police Department insisted he was high and even administered Narcan 3 times. Bimpong's estate has filed a lawsuit against multiple Eagan police officers and Dakota County jail officers. It all alleges civil rights violations and indifference. Okay? Yeah, and that's exactly what it was. They seen this man in a medical crisis and failed to help him. You know what I'm saying? See that? Hey, as far as I'm concerned, okay, we got this. The family wanting to, sue, and rightfully so. But I think police, charges should be filed against these police for what they did to this man, or allowed, as he was undergoing, this medical crisis. Okay. Now it says here, his attorney Katie Bennett said authorities acted on incorrect and unfounded assumptions about Kingsley as justification for treating a person suffering from classic stroke symptoms with callous indifference that resulted in his death. Okay, and which is true. You know what I wish though? I wish that the man, when he felt these symptoms coming on at work, and when he left early, he had to call somebody to come and pick him up. If he would, if he had anybody, it would be a good, thing to call somebody or whatever, or talk to somebody at the job and tell them, I don't think I can work, finish work today. I'm not feeling well. Something's wrong. I don't even think I can drive home. You know what I'm saying? And I'm sure somebody there should be able to help him out. Being that, he's in, condition like that. But hey, this is what happened. He chose to drive. But to continue here, some of the body camera footage has been described in the complaint. It had reportedly captured the Minnesota police officer's missteps. At one point, Officer Monsing told his colleagues there was no smell of alcohol, and even admitted he was not convinced that the case was not medical related. But the officers arrested Bimpong anyway. Jensen, one of the just 323 drug recognition experts out of Minnesota's 11,000 officers, couldn't even perform the 12-step drug evaluation protocol required. Okay? Definitely grounds for a lawsuit here. Hopefully they win. Okay? Now here at Phil Lewis, a lawsuit alleges a black postal worker died after officers ignored clear signs he was suffering from a massive stroke, believing his medical emergency was drugs. Okay? The suit says guards left him helpless on a jail cell floor in his own urine for hours. You see that? They are negligent in this man's death. And that's just what it is. They are negligent. If they had got this man some help, in the first place, when they pulled him over and that cop seen, in other words, he didn't smell any alcohol, and he believed that the man was in a medical crisis, like having a stroke, they were supposed to call, the ambulance. All right. And that's just what it is. You're supposed to call the ambulance and let them come here and assess this man and, take him in, to the hospital, get him some medical treatment. But being that they didn't do that, hey, they liable in this man's demise right here. And that's just what it is. Now to continue here, despite no evidence, Bimpong was handcuffed and taken to jail 2 hours after his contact with the police. At the Dakota County Jail in Minnesota, Bimpong deteriorated. Surveillance footage showed him stumbling, hitting his head, and collapsing in his cell. The complaint says that his pants were down as he was, that's what it says, writhing on the floor of his cell, lying in his own urine. This is inhumane right here. You don't tell me that these officers and the jail, personnel shouldn't be brought up on charges. They should be brought up on charges for how they did this man. They caused this death, as far as I'm concerned. Definitely contributed to it. All right. To continue, for over 3 hours, corrections officers walked past his cell. No one intervened. When staff finally entered his cell around 4:33 a.m., he was cold and foaming at the mouth. By the time he was transported to the hospital, doctors declared him brain dead, and his family, including his cousin Josephine Adegayan, I guess, and the mother of his child, Rosalind Marie Lewis, decided to remove him from life support. He died on November 19, 2024. An autopsy found no drugs or alcohol in his system, only a ruptured blood vessel in the brain. Okay, see, if they had just went ahead and got him some medical attention, some treatment, this wouldn't even happen. Throw these low life officers in jail and let them face the same fate, as far as I'm concerned. Okay. Now, here in conclusion, it says the city of Eagan, Minnesota, in a press release said that Bimpong appeared impaired but did not display signs of a serious medical emergency, denied having any medical conditions. Okay. Similar tragedies have happened before when police misread medical emergencies like diabetic or epileptic episodes as signs of drug use. This 72-page lawsuit demands accountability for a system that too often fails to see medical distress when it doesn't fit its assumptions. Okay? They just fucking low down. And they didn't care about this man. They knew one of those officers knew he was, suffering this stroke. They knew, but they didn't care because they low down. They low down. Safe to say at this point, well, we know pretty much they racist. You see, because you have to wonder. I don't have to wonder. I pretty much know it. Had it been the other way around, if it had been a white man or a white woman, when they put on, oh, we got to get you some help. We need to get some help. They went right on speaking in a little old shoulder walkie-talkies. 10-4, we have a 1231 here. 1231, need assistance. Officer needs assistance. You know what I mean? Medical treatment assistance. Next thing you know, shit, the ambulance would have been there on the double. And that's what it is. So yeah, condolences to the family for their loss, and I wish you guys the best in your lawsuit. But see if you guys can push, these officers, to be held accountable by being brought up on charges for neglect, and also being negligent in this man's demise. That's all I got on this with people. I want you guys to tell me what you think about this story. I'm interested in hearing your thoughts on it in the comments section. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. People, please remember to live your life as though we are being watched, simply because we are. This is James, and I'm out. Peace.